What's up? It's your man, Marv Glover.
And the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the chiseled Adonis.
And welcome to the Hold My Nuggets podcast, here where we talk 50% sports, 50% real shit, 100% of the time. And if you don't like that, you can hold my nuggets.
Suck my dick.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy New Year, and welcome to episode 19.
19.
We here.
I got my voice back. It's here too.
I'm surprised. You are the hardest working man probably in the game right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. We gotta
What
go.
game is that?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year. Let's start off with that.
Happy New Year
more
to
life,
you
more
as well.
blessings, more positivity. I would wish more great things upon you, but you seem like you're doing a lot of great things by yourself.
Am I?
Hot mics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First of all, it's hot mic.
Hot mic.
It's
no
singular.
S.
It's not plural.
Oh, there's not
right?
multiple mics.
Singular.
No multiple
hot mic.
Hot mic.
All right, hot mic.
Hot mic. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
hot,
it's not like legs in Jeffrey Dahmer's closet. There's
well,
only
that
one.
you see, once again, we just
Did I
can we
take
start
it
the
too
new year
far?
off? Can we start the new year off positive?
Oh, boy.
Can
Did you ever consider the fact maybe Jeffrey Dahmer was just a food critic who went the wrong way? Do you think?
What?
Do you think that's?
That has nothing to
Okay.
This is a family show. I tell you every week, this is a family show.
Right, fair enough,
Conduct
fair
yourself as a professional. That's a very interesting conversation
Hey,
we have to get into.
Maybe Ted Bundy's a bad. He was just a terrible Uber driver.
See, there it is. Your obsession with serial killers.
All right.
It's something to be. Because I'm concerned. I'm genuinely concerned.
Fair
but
enough.
you are the hardest working man in the game right now. Hot mic. You got that going on, right?
Absolutely.
You're doing like 8 different commentaries a day. It's. You're doing, and then on top of that, you're doing that. You're still doing the reaction videos.
Absolutely.
You're still doing stand-up comedy.
Oh yeah.
You're still, and on top of that, a lot of people don't know you're doing the Ray Lewis card thing to hold yourself accountable.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So
That's
if you want
been going.
you want to explain
nice.
that to the people that's listening. What's
All right.
going
So
on with that?
basically, this is what's transpiring, right?
Right.
So every single day, I have a list of 5 different objectives I must complete.
Right.
Whether it's something that's completely astronomical, a very tough task, or it's the simplest task of going to the gym or, putting a lotion on my body or things of that nature. Any 5 tasks that you must complete.
Right.
Right. Now, if in the event that you do not complete all 5 tasks, for every 1 task that you don't complete, you would draw 10 cards.
Right.
From this deck of 54 playing cards.
Right.
So whether that's you complete 4 out of 5, you draw 10. 2 out of 5, you draw 30. 1 out of 5, you draw 40. 3 out of 5, you draw 20. If you've done nothing all day and you just existed, you got to draw all 54. And basically, between 1 and 10, you do that number of push-ups of what you draw. Then if you were to draw an ace, that's 25. Jack, queen, king, that's 10.
Right.
And a joker is 50 push-ups. So I've had, I think, 4 different occasions where I did not accomplish all 5 of my tasks on 4 different days, and I had to draw those cards and do those push-ups, whether it's been at 3 a.m. as it's been one time,
right.
1 a.m. at a different time, 12 at a different time. But it's just holding yourself accountable and making sure that's public, because ultimately it's nobody's business. But I feel as if you make it public,
right,
people come on this journey with you. So if in the event you don't see, I put on my story on Instagram that is, hey, I finished all of my tasks. I'm not doing push-ups today. You're going to wonder, well, if he's not putting out the video, he must have completed everything. But oh no, if I did not complete my task for the day, you're going to see me punish myself, because you got to hold yourself accountable.
Do you feel like it's the night? Do you wake up with a sense of pressure every morning? Well, I mean, it's only push-ups, so it's nothing crazy. But do you wake up with that sense of pressure, like, okay, I have to get it done because I'm really not trying to do it? Because you already work out. Like, that's another thing we haven't even mentioned.
Absolutely.
You do your own, so like, hypothetically speaking, there have been times where, me and you've talked individually, and you'll be like, okay, I've done 4 of the 5 things, but I didn't go to the gym, so I'm going to do the push-ups. So in a way, it kind of helps you because, you didn't go to the gym, so you did it. But now, hypothetically speaking, let's say you do go to the gym. You just had a crazy workout, but you didn't do 2 of the 5 things, right, that have nothing to do with fitness. Now, on top of that workout, you got some more push-ups to do on top of it, right? So do you wake up with like any added sense of pressure, like, okay, now I have to make sure? Or do you still, because you grind regardless. That's the point I'm trying to make. But now, do you feel like there's an added on pressure where it's like, okay, I'm really not trying to do these push-ups to get this money? Or is it still more?
In a sense, yes. But for the most part, I would say it's just I have tasks that I have to accomplish.
Right.
I need to finish those tasks. It's in the back of my mind because I'm up against the clock if I've completed, because most times I complete 3 out of 5 by about 4 p.m. And then the last 2, now there's real life that's also happening, and then I have other tasks that I have to accomplish.
Right.
So I'm always up against the clock like, dang, I want to finish. But it's never up until, 12 a.m. If you didn't finish by that time, now you got to hit the floor.
Gotcha.
I do it until it's time for me to go to sleep.
Gotcha.
But if I'm recording a commentary and I have one commentary that I have left to do, I haven't even started, and it's 2 a.m., I'm not going to be screaming in my basement or screaming in my living room or screaming in my room or on a mic at 2 a.m. It makes no sense to my neighbors or the individuals sleeping in my house. Yeah. So then at that point, I'd push the floor. So I wouldn't say there's added, pressures. It's just, it's there. So I hold myself accountable, and there's some sort of disciplinary action if I was lazy that day or something of that.
And what I appreciate about what's going on with you is not only the goals that you said, not only the level of accountability that that's going on, but you're also doing something very great that we have to take time to acknowledge. Because you have some apparel.
Do I?
On your body that we have to address. I mean, the people on listening on audio, on iTunes, Spotify can't see it, but the people on YouTube can, and on Instagram can. I like that hoodie, sir. I'm looking. If I'm not mistaken, that must be. Is that a Marv? Is that a Marv Glover hoodie? Is that a limited edition? You're mad annoying hoodie? I might be
limited.
wrong. Well, it's not.
I mean, the one that you're wearing.
Well, yeah,
is limited.
Well, this is a Wolf Gray.
Well, I don't know if it's Marv Glover merch, but I can tell you, you're being mad annoying.
Well, I see what you did there. There's a callback to my hoodie, ladies and gentlemen. Support your friends. I mean, it's a lot going on. I mean, we are still waiting for him to drop merch. It might happen. We don't know. We're still waiting on it. I don't know what the ETA is on the merch. It's been about 5 years. We've been asking for it. We've been asking for it for quite some time.
First off, I mean, the people have been asking, as you know.
Right.
You see the logo. It's in my videos now. So
yes, it is.
I have that complete. It took years to go and get that done, but procrastination on my part. But I got a couple of designs that's going. I've actually, my creative juices has been flowing.
Yes, it has.
So I've been able to create some designs. Those will actually, everything will be released this year for sure. Because especially since I have the self-discipline and stuff going, if I do not get it done by the end of the year, well, you already know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
It's like going to do 5 deck of cards and just knock them all out.
Oh, decks of cards? Oh, yeah. I mean, I can do that too.
What were you talking? What else were you talking? Oh, this man here. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? I'm confused. What are you talking about in regards to if you don't get the merch done?
Oh, I was going to play a little bit of Hangman with Jeffrey Epstein and Aaron Hernandez. Whatever the case may be. All right.
Something is wrong. Something is wrong.
You just got to hold yourself accountable,
Something.
Just got to hold yourself accountable.
Something is wrong with you. Right?
Something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong with me. There's a lot wrong with what's going on in Star Foxborough, because what happened this past weekend.
The kick is segue.
You see, it is the wild card weekend. It was the culmination of the regular season. Well, I shouldn't say the culmination of the regular season, because that would be the Super Bowl. Right. But it was playoff weekend.
Yes, sir.
In the National Football League. All right, we had 4 teams, or I should say 8 teams, 4 games, do the jousting of the American football game. They did a little bit of the fisticuffs in the form of American football. All right, they did a battle on the gridiron. And what we saw was 4 teams, 4 games, 8 teams, 4 games come down to the wire. But we'll start with probably the most prominent out of all of them, because we saw the fall of the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champions of the world. And down went the regime of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Now, of course, 2 years ago when they lost in the Super Bowl, we all thought that was the end of the dynasty. However, Belichick and Brady were still intact. Now, Brady no longer has a contract at the conclusion of this season, to my estimation.
Free agent for the first time in his career.
Free agent for the first time in his career. So now there's question marks as to where he will go. Personally, I believe that he wants to win without Belichick, and Belichick also wants to prove that he can win without Brady. So, before we even get into any of that, we must break down what happened, because it turns out there was a whole lot of chocolate on the field in Star Foxborough as a lolly lule low went out there, and they had a whole lot of issues on the field because they overdosed with a little bit of diabetes from the chocolate that happens to be named Henry, because Derrick Henry ran all over the New England Patriots.
Yes, sir.
You talk about rubbing your nutsack on another individual.
He harassed them.
You talk about, teabagging them.
It was rape.
Putting your scrotum
Yeah.
on their face mask as if this was Halo 3 in 2009. I think that's when that game came out. Whatever the case may have been.
Took him to homeschool.
Derrick Henry
Yes, he did.
ran for over 180 yards.
Yes.
204 total yards
Monster.
on the day.
Like me back in high school. He's just killing them. He's killing them. Sorry, go ahead.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. I just had to
That's
put that
like
on.
the devil's chapter in the Bible, right?
Well,
it don't exist. So basically, we saw Derrick Henry absolutely murder the New England Patriots. And I'll ask you this much. What were your thoughts on that game?
Wow. I mean, we didn't get it. I didn't get it. I don't know if I made my predictions on the last episode, but I knew that the Titans were going to win. The Patriots of this year did not seem like the Patriots of old. You know, they had the issues, you know, with the wide receiver core. Brady, his age is definitely starting to show. And towards the latter half of the season, remember the beginning of the season, the talk of the Patriots was the defense. Towards the latter half of the season, they started to slowly but surely dissipate. And that definitely showed going up against the Titans. First and foremost, Derrick Henry. I mean, my gosh, we're talking about 34 carries, 182 yards on the day with one touchdown. How much is that? Like 204 total?
204 total. He had a 22-yard catch. That should have been a score.
This man, I mean, I'm going to just call it as I see it. Right now, Derrick Henry is looking like the best running back in pro football. He is a man amongst boys. He's absolutely monstrous. And the Titans came in, and I said this to you last episode. There's something about that Titans team. Man. They play with a level of, and we got to credit Mike Vrabel about this. They play with a level of physicality and just a chip on their shoulder. They're not scared of anybody, and they showed it going up against the Patriots from the opening gate up until the end. They played like they wanted it more, and it showed. You know, what really stood out to me in this entire game is that what the Patriots are notorious for is that you can't allow yourself as a team to make any type of mistakes.
Absolutely.
When you beat yourself, they beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it be all it takes is one penalty. You damn sure don't want a turnover, whether it be an interception or a fumble, because they will make you pay.
Needless to say, don't masturbate against the Patriots. Don't beat yourself.
Don't beat that applies. that definitely applies. But no, yeah, in all seriousness, you cannot beat yourselves. And when you look at it, there were not a bunch, but there were a couple of mistakes that the Titans made where I was watching the game live. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's over.
The interception from Tannehill.
You had Logan Ryan who had the muff interception.
The pick six that he actually dropped. He made up for it later in the game. Right. But there was that drop as well. And there was a blown third down from Tennessee. Tannehill when he fumbled.
Yes, yeah.
When he fumbled the snap.
You understand that? So you had those three big key moments where you look at it, and if anybody who's familiar with the New England Patriots, like, all right, well, never mind, because it was already a close game from start to finish, and you're in your mind like you're kind of on the edge of your seat, even if you're not a Titans fan, because it's like you're kind of rooting for them because you don't want to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl, but you're like, you guys cannot F up. But in spite of the fact that they did mess up, the Patriots would just never seem to capitalize. There was one big play where it seemed like they were really going to be able to move the chains and score, where I think it was Brady on 3rd and something. We had the one deep pass to Ben Watson.
Oh, yes. And they got called back. Yes.
After that, you understand, not there wasn't really much from it. So, and then later on, Logan Ryan redeemed himself with the pick six and things of that nature. So you were looking at this game, and it's just like you just saw, like, okay, this is not the Patriots team that we all know and revere, and it showed on both sides of the ball. Nobody was really able to get it done. I think Tom Brady on the day, 20 for 37, 209 yards, and he had the one interception. Yes. Very bad, to Logan Ryan. I think more emphasis should have been put on the run, but at the end,
it got shut down. I think Sony Michel had maybe 70 yards or something like that. They did not have and the runs that Michel had, he had one. I think it was a 20-yard run to start out, and then after that, he got completely shut down.
Okay,
on the blueprint to beat the Patriots is 5 things. It's always been 5 things.
Right,
you have to 1, be able to run the football against them. Mm-hmm. 2, you put pressure on Brady with just your front 4.
Right.
3, you protect your quarterback, in that being Tannehill, and for the most part that they did.
Right.
4, you do not defeat yourself, whether that's interceptions, fumbles, penalties.
Right.
And then ultimately 5, win the time of possession.
And
they were able to check off every single one. And although the difference in the time of possession at the end of the game was only a difference of, I think, about a minute or so, but the Titans dominated it.
Right.
Because when the Titans were on the field,
Right.
they were on the field.
Yep.
When the Patriots had those long possessions, it wasn't as if they were methodically going down the field.
Right.
It was, we had a first down, we're running down the play clock. We had a second down, we're running down the play clock. Then we had a third down. Oh, we converted, but it's really a 6 and out because
Right.
it went a 6 and a punt, but it just amassed over 3 minutes.
Right.
But it wasn't 3 minutes of I'm chunking my way down the field. Oh, no.
Right.
We just so happened to have the football,
Right.
and now we're giving the football back. It was an absolute masterclass performance from Mike Vrabel, and in my opinion, he out-coached Bill Belichick.
You remember the one of the another key moment that a lot of people aren't talking about. You already know where I'm going. The play was, I think they had the penalty situation.
Three consecutive plays in
Right.
which he took the penalty because you saw Belichick do it against the Jets. And here's the thing. Vrabel could have really continued to milk that.
Okay.
But when they chose to punt, it was after taking 2 minutes off of the clock. And more importantly, he pinned them deep into their own territory.
Right.
So it was just a genius move because you want to keep Brady on the sideline. It's the same thing whenever you play against a great quarterback.
Right.
If you're able to get your run game going,
Right.
and your defense can get stops, you'll win.
Right.
You'll literally win. You can score 3 points and beat that team because their offense, that high-powered offense, is off the field. And although the Patriots were not high-powered, they still have Tom Brady.
Right,
so
right.
when there's a will, there's a way. But it was a hell of a performance by Tennessee, man. I'm so ecstatic for those guys. I
Right.
predicted them to win this game as well. Not because, I'm just a Patriot hater. I want to see them lose.
Right.
No, but watching how they matched up with each other. Tennessee had all of, the intangibles. They had all of the keys that to success, and ultimately that's exactly what they did.
Most definitely. And, going back to the Mike Vrabel's, the chess, not checkers move with the running down of the clock, it came back to haunt Brady towards the end of the game. Because even after he threw the pick six to Logan Ryan, if he had enough time on the clock, he could have got the ball back
Exactly.
and still won the game.
Yeah, because they were only down by a touchdown.
Right. So now in moments like that, you start to realize where intellect and just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just overall experience. He does come from the Bill Belichick. I think he played.
Yeah,
of
he
course,
played
with
for
the-
Belichick.
Right.
Got 3 Super Bowls with him.
So, that in that sense, it just, when you talk about him out coaching him, prime example right there.
Also played for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Prime example of that. So, my goodness. But now, the New England Patriots, they get eliminated in the wild card round. We're not going to see them in the Super Bowl. It's a done deal. You talked about earlier Tom Brady about to be a free agent for the first time in his career. You hear all these rumors and talks going all the way back to last offseason about Brady and Belichick having a bit of tension between the two, and talks about each other trying to be in a situation where they can show they can win without one another. Brady wants to prove that he doesn't need Belichick to win. Belichick wants to prove that he doesn't need Brady to win. And now ultimately, I think during the season as well, Brady had sold his house in Massachusetts and things like that. So for most of us, it's a foregone conclusion that it doesn't seem like he's coming back to New England. So hypothetically speaking, or even if it's not hypothetical, if that is the case for you personally, where could you realistically see Brady go this upcoming offseason?
I would have to say there are a couple of landing spots. I would say one, the LA Chargers. There's a probability that they can go there. Now, you wouldn't want to make the lateral move from old quarterback in Rivers to older quarterback with Tom Brady.
Right.
But that team still has the talent to be able to contend.
Right.
If you're able to retain a Melvin Gordon, or it's a foregone conclusion, he's probably going to walk. But whatever the case may be, they're probably a couple of players away. Brady needs to go somewhere where he can immediately go
Just plug in
and win.
Right.
So maybe a Carolina, if they make the right sort of move, because they're not in a terrible draft situation.
Okay.
But I do believe that they're in a situation where they can move players around and maybe get somebody. Chicago, that can be a landing spot for him as well. You have a big-time receiver in Allen Robinson over there. You do have a Trey Burton who can play very well if Brady's able to pull, his sleeping beast out of him as well. And you got yourself a run game with David Montgomery and also Tariq Cohen, who you can utilize like a Dion Lewis that was there, or a James White that he had. So it's just those sort of landing spots. I can't necessarily think of other locations where I could see Brady land. But who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
You know what's crazy? I literally looked at every single team going down the list and tried to figure out where he would fit. And initially, the first team that came to mind was the Chargers. Because like I said, at his present age, going back to the point you made, I second that opinion in that I feel that where he's at right now, you're obviously not going to put a older quarterback in a system where you're trying to rebuild. Brady has to go to a system where they're literally just one quarterback away from being a playoff contending team, which I think are the Los Angeles Chargers. Like they said, they are missing. They could use a couple extra pieces here and there, but for the most part, I think that even though it would be somewhat of a lateral move because Brady is older, I think the Chargers could look at it as, all right, do we want this old quarterback who hasn't really done all that much for us and hasn't been able to get the job done in his entire time of him being here? Or do we want to take a gamble with this older quarterback who, granted, yes, his age is starting to show, but I mean, he was limited in terms of his the offensive options that were made available to him this past offseason. We have a number one wide receiver in a Keenan Allen. We have a Mike Williams. We have, well, depending, I don't know. I mean,
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said Keenan Williams.
No, I said Keenan Allen. You have a number one receiver in Keenan Allen. You have
and Mike Williams. Yeah. Hunter Henry and
Hunter Henry.
So
they compare. I mean, you take that roster compared to what what he had to deal with the New England Patriots this past season. I mean, my goodness, that's a huge step up. So for them, it's like, do we want to keep rolling with this old quarterback who hasn't been able to get the job done, or do we want to deal with this, roll the dice on this older quarterback who, yeah, he's up there, even more up there in age than Phillip Rivers, but he has that pedigree and that experience of getting to that place, right? And maybe with the right pieces around him, we can get the job done. So I can see that happening. There was one that was thrown out there that I don't think is going to happen, but would be very, very interesting. Wouldn't it be crazy to think, because right now, the Cleveland Browns hold on now. The Cleveland Browns have moved on from Freddie Kitchens, expectedly so. You have a Josh Daniels who, for years now, has been in talks for a head coaching position, but has just found a level of comfort as the offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick. Understandably so. It's a trip to the Super Bowl every single year. He might get that call to come to New England. I mean, to come to Cleveland. I would. Now, listen, personally, I wouldn't be looking to sign Brady because I don't want to. I'm not ready to write off Baker Mayfield yet after just his sophomore season. Let's give him another year to see what we really have. But at the same time, I mean, hey, it's a National Football League. It's a win now league. If you can sign to Josh McDaniels as your head coach and know that Brady would come along with him, would you not roll the? I mean, and if we're talking about weapons. Who has better weapons than the Cleveland Browns? Nick Chubb with the year that he's had. Like I said, I think Derrick Henry is looking like the best running back in football. But before the latter half of the season, you could argue that it was Nick Chubb. He was having a stellar season.
No, he was having a good season, but I think it was Christian McCaffrey.
McCaffrey was up there because of MVP. I understand
of course.
Yeah,
but, I get what you're saying.
But Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, all the talent they have on the other side of the ball, who's to say that it would be the... I'm picking your brain here. You look like you're intrigued. What are your thoughts on that? Am I bugging? Am I not? I don't think I am.
It sounds good on paper,
right?
But I do not think it would be able to. Not necessarily that it wouldn't happen. I don't think it would be able to mesh because there is a certain sort of discipline that you have to have. And although you have talents like Odell, Jarvis, Nick Chubb, and Njoku, if he's able to, be healthy next season as well, in a defense with an amalgam of talent that's there.
Ridiculous.
There's still questions about the offensive line and the protection. True. And if Brady is not protected, you're going to have a bad time. And more importantly, him having to... McDaniels would have to bring the exact same offense, and you would hope that your teammates there can acquiesce to that offense, because we've seen a ton of players that have come to New England, and they maybe have been a star somewhere, and now they don't fit in. Somebody like an Ocho Cinco, somebody like a Brandon Lloyd, or a lot of people. There's a lot of sacrifice that has to happen. So for OBJ and Jarvis, are you comfortable with going from? Because I know OBJ's not comfortable with the season he just had. Right. But are you happy going from 10 touchdowns a season or 100 catches a season or over 1,000 a season to 67 and 800 yards, and maybe you'll probably still get a little bit more touchdown, or maybe it might just be a little bit less. So if those guys aren't comfortable with it, then it's not going to work. But if they are, who knows? But I'll ask you this much. Speaking of young quarterbacks, we did have a matchup between the Bills and the Texans, and this was the very first, playoff game of this, wild card Saturday. Now, I'll say this much. The Bills jumped out to a 16-0 lead. Josh Allen, although he wasn't looking stellar out there, the run game was looking magnificent.
Beautiful.
All right, because Devin Singletary was running left and right on the Texans defense.
Yes,
the Texans offense and Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins simply could not get going.
No.
And all it took was a sack from J.J. Watt. Forcing, a Hauska to go out there and kick that field goal, now making it 16-0. All of a sudden, there was a shift.
They flipped the switch.
There was a switch.
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins, who had just fumbled on the drive prior, finds his hands, remembers who he is, and tells Tre'Davious White,
get out of my face.
Get out my face. I'm about to make 2 consecutive catches, put his team in the right position, and then Deshaun Watson runs it in for the score. Then what happens? Buffalo cannot do a 2-point conversion. Then Buffalo can't convert. The ball ends up back into the hands of Houston. What do? Let's go and kick a field goal. Another drive where Buffalo, for some apparent reason, I think there was a fumble, and then Houston got the football back, put it into the end zone. They now take the lead, and Buffalo down 19-16. Intentional grounding from Josh Allen. 4th and 27.
What?
Sean McDermott, Josh Allen have over 2 minutes to discuss what they were going to do, because the entire time when they're discussing, intentional grounding, these guys are on the sidelines discussing what their next move is. You're down by 3. You're at I believe they were at like the 40-yard line. So you're not even in field position. You're not even field goal position.
Yeah, okay.
Allen takes the snap and takes a 19-yard sack.
Yeah.
You give the football back to Houston up by 3 in field goal position.
Right.
And then Bill O'Brien, which understandably so, says, I'm not going to kick the field goal to give us a 6-point lead. I'm going to try to go for it here and put the game away, which I agree with. And I understand why he did it. I would have kicked the field goal, but I understand why he did it. Ultimately, Buffalo got the football back. They went down the field. They kicked it. They went into overtime. Both teams exchanged possession. Then ultimately, Deshaun Watson showed I'm Houdini, evaded the pass rush. 2 different guys, turned into a Hitmontop, used rapid spin. He turned into a blade. He let it rip. He activated his trap card. He used Dust Tornado. Whatever the case may have been, he was able to escape 2 Buffalo Bills. And then Kaimi Fairbairn kicks the game-winning field goal. But I'll say this much. Buffalo did everything in their power to give this game away, because Houston should not have won.
They shouldn't have won.
And you saw Deshaun Watson come alive, because this man does not drive automatic. He's got the clutch in the car. Went 20 for 25, and I think well over 100, or maybe even 200 yards in the final minutes of the third quarter throughout the fourth and overtime. It was a masterclass performance from this man to close out the game. But my thoughts were, as I said, Buffalo blew it. They absolutely blew it. Put him in Nebraska's company, because that's all they was doing out there was blowing. You can go.
Here. Yeah, no, I mean, I second that opinion 110%. I thought Buffalo was going to come out, and I had Buffalo winning this game beforehand. Josh Allen is an interesting player in that he has a big arm, but his accuracy down the field has always stifled, him to be a good, or if not a great passer of the football. But what makes him special is his athletic ability. You talk about, them running the football early. I mean, my goodness, every time, whether it was him or Devin Singletary, they got the ball rolling. It was like, oh man, this is about to be one of those nights. Oh, yeah. And they came out, they were hot. They had that one trick play with John Brown.
Yes, with the touchdown pass.
You understand? They were pulling out all the stops.
The Billy special.
Right? I think that with the kind of, and that's what I've loved about this team, that they haven't tried to relegate Josh Allen to be this traditional drop back quarterback. There have been games where they have utilized his ability as a runner, right? And it has always worked in their favor, which is what bothered me, because going into, I believe, the middle of the third quarter, they kind of deviated away from that.
Absolutely.
And started passing ball. I mean, Josh Allen on the day was 24 for 46. There's no reason that Josh Allen should be passing the ball 46 times.
It's similar to what we saw with Mitch Trubisky when he threw the ball 50 times. This is not your game.
That's not your game, especially when I'm confused as to what was going on there coaching wise, because it's like you saw what was working, and it's not like it would have been one thing if the Texans started coming back and you had to mount a comeback. Then you have to start passing the ball because you don't have time to keep running. But that wasn't the case. You were up 16-0 until the middle of the third quarter, where you did it to yourself, then started to pass the ball more, and then from there, Houston started mounting their comeback. But, you look on the other side of the ball for the Bills. I mean, I think for me, the X factor for this game, especially for why it was so hard for the Texans to get it going early, was the Bills front four. But less about them, more about the Houston offensive line.
Yeah.
Because the talk all season long, and me and you have discussed it, is how bad that offensive line has been from the start of the season up until now. And it showed in that game. I think the reason why they weren't able to get things going early offensively is because every single play, I kind of seemed like Deshaun Watson was almost scrambling for his life.
Yeah, he was.
So he didn't have he wasn't given enough time to let the play develop. So he was constantly looking to throw the ball away. Because of that, you're not giving DeAndre Hopkins a chance to get open. You're not, getting your other offensive players a chance to, let the play get going. So the Bills literally, like you said, did it to themselves. It's unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. But I have to ask you about this though, because now moving forward, there was that game that happened, and there was another playoff game that was also fairly interesting. Fairly interesting. The Battle of the Birds. The Battle of the Birds.
Oh yeah.
Seahawks at Philadelphia.
Violet
Now,
City Gym.
going into this game, this was a weird stat. I don't know why they pulled this, but apparently in playoff games, all bird teams that play other bird teams, the bird team at home never loses. I think it's like 10-0.
Really? I was unaware of this.
I didn't know that. But 10-0. So naturally, I guess Philly had the quote-unquote momentum on their side. They're at home, right? Coming off of the season that they did, albeit it was in the NFC least. The way that they battled through everything that they did to get to this point was admirable in itself. But ultimately, the Seahawks were able to come out with a W. What were your thoughts on that game?
First and foremost, you cannot start your commentary on this particular game without mentioning the fact that it was void of Carson Wentz.
Of course.
We were robbed of Carson Wentz, in his playoff debut because Jadeveon Clowney, although he's not a dirty player, the hit on that day belonged in the laundromat. Yeah. So it was a terrible situation. You saw 40-year-old Josh McCown make his playoff debut. Right. And for the most part, he held up pretty well. He did all right.
There were reports. I don't know if you saw. There were reports that came out today that he was playing with a torn hamstring. I'm not sure if that happened during the game, if that happened before. It's hard for me to imagine that happened before. But then again, I don't know.
Who knows? But whatever the case may have been, the Eagles still had a chance,
right? Because
you saw failures to score when they were in the red zone, because you did not see an Eagles touchdown. It was 3 Jake Elliott field goals. Yep. So they got close to the red zone, but they failed to score. But I'll say this much. You cannot put the onus on Josh McCown for this particular loss. But before I even talk about their offense, because I feel as if I just need to address the fact that the Eagles defense, as depleted as they've been at the secondary, outside of DK Metcalf, they did their job.
Yes, they did.
They did their job.
Yes, they did.
Although DK Metcalf, it looked as if he was murdering their defense, which he was. No. They only put up 17 points on the board. This is the exact same score that you saw earlier during the season. So that defense, in the bigger games, you saw them come to play, and the offense was anemic. In this case, Josh McCown, or I should say Zach Ertz, 2 catches for like 40 yards. Right. And he had a 25-yard catch or something early in the third quarter. So outside of that, he did nothing.
Dallas Goedert, another one.
Dallas Goedert, he was pretty much the leading receiver. I think he had like 7 catches for like 70 yards. No other receivers was there. Right. But Miles Sanders' drop on the second to last, second to last possession on, I think it was 4th down. You have to catch that football. Right. You cannot drop that football. The game is literally on the line. And still, McCown brought them down the field again. Again. And although he thought he was maybe like 20, 25, because that hole was massive. All right, looked like you went to a butt plug convention, and there was a gaping hole. He thought he would have been able to run for the score, but unfortunately,
just too slow.
He was much older.
Old man.
Exactly. He forgot the fact he didn't have a Metro card. He had an AARP card. All right. He had a reduced Metro card. Yeah. So he could not get there, and he was stopped. And you could see he was.
Clowney, I think, tackled.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Probably like Clowney, Ford, whatever the case was. But I must say, kudos to the Eagles, but for this particular game, the biggest takeaway is what is going to be the state of the offensive line for Seattle, because Dwayne Brown, there's still questions on if he'll make his return or not. Mike Iupati, he didn't play last game. Who knows if he's going to play this upcoming game? So I'll say the Eagles, regardless of the fact they were completely battered, it was a valiant effort. For Seattle, great job, but you got to figure out what your run game's going to be moving forward. But outside of that, good victory for Seattle. I predicted them to win on the road, and indeed that they did. It's a tough loss for the Eagles, but hopefully Wentz's body can be healthy, man.
Right. I mean, listen, I'll say this much, and as a Cowboys fan, I'm still an objective fan of the game. I tip my hat to Doug Peterson because despite everything that happened with this team all season long in terms of the medley of injuries that they had to deal with, first of all, it's unfortunate because coming throughout the season, even with all the injuries and everything that happened, Carson Wentz was the linchpin that kept the glue of this football team together all throughout the season. And going into his playoff debut, the man didn't even get a chance to compete. He had the dirty hit with Clowney, and then McCown comes in, and he kind of it was kind of just a resounding thing amongst us all. We're like, all right, it's probably over, and it just sucks. It really, really does. But I tip my hat to Doug Peterson because despite losing Wentz and everything else that happened this season, there has never been a game for me personally where I saw this team all throughout the season where they didn't fight to the very end. You understand what I'm saying? And even in this game, you lose your starting quarterback. Like you said, they played their butts off from start to finish. I got to respect them. I tip my hat to them because of that, because that's not an easy thing to do. But ultimately, they weren't able to get it done. But on the other side of the ball, you talk about Russell Wilson. He had a pretty solid night, 18 for 30 on passing, 325 passing yards, 1 touchdown. But the star of the game, as we all know, that boy DK.
Yeah.
That man, you want to talk about a playoff debut, albeit against a battered secondary, but damn, I mean, he was unstoppable.
Most receiving yards from a rookie in their debut, with 160, yeah.
160 yards, 7 receptions, and the last catch of the game to seal the deal. He showed up.
Indeed.
He definitely showed up and shut the mouths of all the naysayers and doubters that didn't pick him in the drafts, and he looks very impressive. Moving on, however, when we're going to get to the upcoming opponent and things of that nature, it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays up against Green Bay, and we're going to get to that. But man, that boy, it
was a hell of a performance.
That boy, he big. That boy big.
Oh yeah,
he's different. Now. There was another game that happened where, in my personal opinion, I think after the Titans-Patriots game, probably another game that everyone had their eyes on for a medley of reasons.
Oh, yeah.
The Vikings at the New Orleans Saints. And I see you shaking your head and sighing because I know you got a lot to get off of your chest about this one. What are your thoughts on what took place in that game?
And I feel as if I'd be remiss if I did not say this because this episode will be released most likely before the game between Minnesota and San Francisco. So first and foremost, I'd like to apologize to the Minnesota fans once again. I understand I'm not allowed to go to the Mall of America.
This man is funny.
But yeah, do not send the most Brock of Lesnar's after me. But I did not foresee, the Vikings winning this game. I thought it was going to be necrophilia. I thought they were going to get completely defeated.
Say that. You did
because
say that.
The Saints at home in the playoffs have only lost one game, and that being the NFC Championship last year where they got screwed over.
Right.
And the Vikings on the road coming into this game were 4-4, and they struggle on the road. There were questions about the health of Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, although they were returning from injury. How are they 100% or not? You still had the hamstring with Thielen, and then Diggs is here, not there. He's literally the song hit or miss. Nobody knows what the deal is, and on top of that, Kirk family member Cousins has never won a playoff game. And here they are stepping in to New Orleans, and what do we see? You see the Dreadlocks backfield go well over 100 yards.
Yep.
Madison and Cook were doing whatever the hell they wanted.
Yes, sir.
They protected up front, that is, the O-line protected Kirk Cousins to the most part. Adam Thielen was virtually a non-factor for a quarter and a half and came alive midway through the second and then through the third and fourth and simply could not be covered. And Stephon Diggs, he was completely non-existent. But still, you saw the anemia of the Saints offense. Michael Thomas, you got over $100 million, all right? You broke Marvin Harrison's reception record, all right? Where the hell were you?
How much did he have? I think he had like
7 catches, 70 yards, but it wasn't anything that you felt.
Right.
You never really watched the game like, I feel Michael Thomas's presence.
Right.
Alvin Kamara, not even 40 yards on the ground. Taysom Hill was the leading rusher. Where were you? Where were your dreadlock powers? What was going on? And Drew Brees, what the hell was happening?
Yeah.
Where was the mystique of Drew Brees' Jesus? It wasn't there.
Right.
It simply was not there. The offensive line gave him time for the most part, but guys weren't getting open. He was missing open reads. Defensively, the Vikings didn't score over 20 points. Although the Saints defense, they weren't out here getting turnovers galore.
Right.
But you expect the Saints offense to put up 30 and they didn't. This is entirely on the offensive side of the ball, and they could get nothing done.
Right.
The Vikings were up by 10, 20-10.
Right.
You saw a field goal from Will Lutz. No, pardon me. You saw a touchdown from the Saints, and then they were driving down the field with an opportunity to take the lead, and Drew Brees ends up fumbling.
Right.
Minnesota doesn't put points on the board, but then, they have to force overtime. And once I saw that one drive going down the field, you give up a damn 43, 46-yard pass to Adam Thielen. This being by not Lattimore on this particular play. It might have been Lattimore. Whatever the case was.
I think it was...
No, it wasn't Lattimore. It was
Williams?
probably...
Was it Williams?
Yeah, I think it was P.J. Williams who got beat deep, because I know the touchdown catch was on was on Williams.
It was definitely...
But whoever the hell Lattimore... No, whoever the hell Thielen beat, what the hell were you guys doing?
Right.
There was just failure from the Saints, failure to execute, and this was a team that was 13-3, probably one of the most complete teams in football.
We thought they were
get
going to the Super
eliminated.
Bowl.
Exactly. They were one of my 2 picks in the NFC to make it to the Super Bowl, along with the Green Bay Packers. And here they are laying an egg, and Minnesota took advantage, man. And I gotta say, kudos to Minnesota, man. They got the job done. They took out. They had the I should say they had the fix, and they put it in. It was a hell of a performance, man.
Right. I mean, I think that they came in with a little bit. They definitely came in a little. They looked like they wanted it more. Let's just start off there. I mean, you talk about it. Cousins on the day, 19 for 31, 242 yards, 1 touchdown. Those aren't spectacular numbers, but when you watch the game, he made every throw that you needed him to make from the start all the way to down the stretch. You look at Dalvin Cook the day, he had 28 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. He balled out. Thielen, like you said, he was a little bit non-present in the beginning, but then finished the day, 7 receptions, 129 yards. The Vikings offense looked like what we thought the Saints offense was supposed to look like. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at Drew Brees. This is the second consecutive postseason game where his age, dare I say, has started to show, because there were certain mistakes you look at him making. You're like, a seasoned quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback like yourself should be making them. The ill-advised fumble to Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter. Yeah.
Shouldn't have happened. Absolutely shouldn't have. Should have thrown away, held it for too long. Then you had the interception when he was trying to throw to Ted Ginn Jr. down the field into double coverage. I'm looking at it, I'm like, bro, Drew Brees? I expect that from Kirk Cousins. I expect that from a lot of quarterbacks. I don't expect that from Drew Brees. So that definitely caught me off guard. And I mean, outside of Taysom Hill, who literally was doing everything for this team, and he was the spark plug for this team all game long, everyone else just seemed anemic. There was no urgency. There was no sense of, we got to go win. And you're at home in front of your fans after all the talk these past 2 postseasons about, the offensive PI, the PI that wasn't called, and the situation that happened with Diggs at the catch over Williams and things of that nature, where the Saints got screwed over. This seemed like they were, and I told you on and off the podcast, I had the Saints going all the way, and now for this game to happen, I don't want to hear no more talk about anything. This was the season to get it done. All cylinders were a go, and you guys couldn't get the job done. It was absolutely disgusting.
It's sad too, because a lot of people are complaining about, well, there was a no call on on the push off from Kyle Rudolph, and I understand their transgressions, because I probably, if I was the ref, I would have thrown the flag. It was a full extension, but there was a lot of hand fighting and everything. But this was literally one of those situations where you can look at, there was a ton of moments in this game where you could have won. Literally, the Vikings in the third and fourth quarter were throwing layups to the Saints. There were lapses in their coverages. Xavier Rhodes couldn't cover a twin-size bed with a king-size mat sheet.
Cooked.
This entire season.
Cooked, bro.
And Michael Thomas couldn't exploit this man all day. Had it been Marcus Peters in a Vikings uniform, Thomas would have went over 200 yards. But Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes are able to hold this man
to just 70
under 100.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Who are you really? we were all ready to give this man the moniker of the best receiver in the game.
Right.
After you could not deny the production over the course of the 3 years.
Right.
Especially this year, I said, you know what? I'm going to go and give it to him.
Right.
But you know what? That playoff performance, when you were pretty much non-existent, dog, I think it's going to have to stay with Julio. It's going to have to stay with D-Hop. You're still in the top tier.
Right.
But you just slid yourself to number 3.
Right.
I was slowly creeping you upwards. It seemed, pump the brakes now.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes. The other people can continue to move their machines. They can continue to move their automobiles.
Listen, at the end of the day, if you're not able to show up and show out when it matters most in a postseason game like that, of that magnitude, given all the talk, I got to agree with you there. But we do have a couple minutes left. Before we get into it, I do want to see if we can get to our predictions for this upcoming divisional round. We have 4 games that's getting ready to happen this upcoming weekend. All right, first and foremost, probably the one that I'm looking most forward to, and I got to get your take on it. Vikings versus 49ers. Who you got? Predict the score if you can, and why.
All right, this is an intriguing game for me because it's literally going to be a game-time decision. When I made my pregame analysis video, I said I'm going to probably lean towards Minnesota for this particular reason. I believe their defensive line will wreak havoc against the 49ers. I don't think anything else will make this game, I don't expect the Vikings offense to look the same way they did this particular game. I think Richard Sherman and company will take away a Thielen or take away a Diggs. The ground game, they're going to have to really, really continue to pound at the rock to really get them going. But I just feel as if the 49ers will either turn the football over because of Danielle Hunter, Linville Joseph, and Everson Griffin. I think that front 4 will be the staple to make Minnesota win this game. I would not be surprised if the 49ers win. I would not be surprised. But something in me is telling me Minnesota fixing to win this game on the road.
Right. And if you had to predict the score, what do you think?
If I had to predict the score, I'm going to say 21-17.
Okay. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I got 49ers on this one. I don't know why, but I am expecting a high-scoring game. I think this might just be a shootout. Okay. You got 2 uber-talented teams on both sides of the ball, right, with their own fair share of momentum coming into this game. You have the 49ers who will be playing at home in front of that rabid 49ers fan base who have been craving a playoff run going all the way back to when they lost the Super Bowl to Baltimore, right? And now you have a new and renewed team with all this talent on the offensive side of the ball, and Emmanuel Sanders, a Jimmy G who's shown up, Matt Breida, we've seen what he's done all season long, and most start that running back tandem. Who else is on there? There's a couple others. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, that front 4 is beastly, right? Then the defensive back, that secondary is not, you can't lift your nose up at them. I think it's going to come down to quarterback play. I think that ultimately all eyes are going to be on a Kirk Cousins who's coming fresh off of his first signature playoff win, and a Jimmy G who has been there before, but hasn't been there as a starter. This is now his first postseason game. All eyes are going to be on them. I'm not expecting them to have super duper stellar games, but the mistakes have to be minimal because either team will make sure that they capitalize on it. But for me, I think, like I said, I got the 49ers. I'm going to go 35-31 49ers with the dub. Next after that, Titans versus Ravens. I talked to you about this. Hold on. I'm going to let you go. Go ahead, because I don't want to say what I want to say. But.
First and foremost, for this particular game, I would say don't leave your seat because it's going to be a quick one. I think this is going to be oh, yes. I think this game will probably last about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Why is that? Because I believe there's going to be a combined over 75 carries because these teams are going to run the football.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll say this much. As much as I wanted to pick Tennessee, I got to go Baltimore, and I think Baltimore is going to win off the toes of Justin Tucker. I don't expect this game to have a lot of scoring. I think it's going to be one of those, whether it's a 16-13 kind of game, an 18-15 kind of game where you see only field goals, very reminiscent to the Colts in Baltimore in 2006 sort of situation. But I'm going to say, Baltimore is going to win this game off the toes of Justin Tucker, probably 16-13 Baltimore.
I'm going in a different direction, but I kind of have the same sentiment. I I want to pick Baltimore so bad. I really do, because there would be nothing would make me happier than to see Lamar Jackson play in the Super Bowl. I said it a couple podcast episodes ago before. This team has that same Carolina Panthers, what was it, 2016, 2015 feeling of like they're just on a high, man. They're everything goes through that quarterback. But for me, I'm looking at the momentum the Titans have. You talk about the last regular season game they played. They had a big division win. Then you come into your first postseason game, you beat the New England Patriots. Granted, they're not the New England Patriots old, but still the New England Patriots nonetheless. Now you're going to Baltimore. They've shown that they're not scared of going to somebody else's home field and snatch their hearts out. And for me, I think that the 2 weeks off that Lamar Jackson has had, because remember, he didn't play in the last regular season game and he had the bye week, is actually going to hurt him. I think that we got to remember the last time we saw him in the postseason, he's a much better player now.
Yeah.
He didn't show up.
Absolutely.
I do think he's going to have a good game, but I think for the first half, he's going to struggle just a tad bit. And then in the second half, they're going to turn it up. But for me, it's really hard for me right now to bet against this Titans team. There's something about them. They have this momentum, this fire behind them. I'm going to go Titans with the dub, 17-14 with the upset.
I like that because initially I was going to choose Tennessee as well.
Right.
And I do believe that Lamar's not going to play to the same, beat of the drum that he's been doing all season. And this is literally one of those coin toss sort of situations.
Yeah.
It's just like the same thing for me in Minnesota. This can change. My prediction can change. I told the people, because I'm going live on Hot Mic, so if you'd like to download the app, use the promo code Adonis. It's absolutely free. But I've told in my video, I said, you know what? I'm going to let you know if I'm changing my picks the day of. Not during the game. I don't do that. But the day of, because this is one of those situations. It literally can go either way. And then next, you got the Texans traveling to take on the Chiefs. And I'm going to tell you this much. I'm going with the Texans to win this game.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yes. I believe the Texans will win this game, and let me tell you why. I do not trust the Chiefs' defense, and I've told people this all season long. Regardless of how high-powered that offense is, and yes, they are. Right. This is a game where the Chiefs will score 30, the Texans will score 34. The Chiefs will score 40. The Texans will score 45, because I do not trust that defense at all, regardless of the fact that Matthew's playing at an all-pro level, regardless of the fact that occasionally you're going to get sacks here and there, but still, I do not trust that Chiefs defense at all. I think you're going to see Carlos Hyde get going on the ground. Right. We've seen, Damian Williams get it going for Kansas City on the ground here, but for the most part throughout the season, it's been a bit ticky-tacky. You don't know what the status of LaShawn McCoy is going to be or anything like that. I think that Deshaun Watson will continue to keep that momentum that he closed the last game with, and carry that into this particular game. And more importantly, I don't think there's anybody who's going to be able to stop DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's going to say, oh, you thought I was average because Tre'Davious White was locking me up for 2.5 quarters. Right. Watch what I do now. I think that this is going to be a shootout, and I'm choosing the Texans to win this game on the road and go to the AFC Championship for the first time in the Texans' history. I got the Texans winning this game 37-35.
I'm going to go once again in a different direction. I don't trust the Chiefs' defense either, but surprisingly enough, I trust that defense more than I trust the Texans' offensive line. What I saw in that last game, if you go remember, they're going into Arrowhead. Absolutely. Not an easy place to play in at all. And for me, I think the X factor, you mentioned his name, Carlos Hyde, because given that I feel like Deshaun Watson is going to be scrambling for his scrambling for his life. Okay, again, I said it again. That's it. Scrambling for his life all night long. I think they are going to look to try and run the ball a bit more this game. D-Hop, if they are able to get D-Hop going early, it can go in either way. If they're able to get D-Hop going early, they're going to look to pass more. But if they're able to get Carlos Hyde going early, they are going to look to run the ball more. But for me, given how high-powered that offense is, match that up with the fact that Deshaun Watson has not been protected well all season long, and you're playing at Arrowhead, I'm going to give it to the Chiefs, man. Last year, they were literally one play away from making it to the Super Bowl. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're at home. They cannot let this fan base down. I'm going with the Chiefs 30. I'm going to go 35-30. 35-30
not bad.
Chiefs.
Oh, but my score, I said 37-35. I'm doing 38-35.
There you go.
And last but not least, the Seahawks traveling to take on the Green Bay Packers. In the land of the cheese, Lambeau Field, I'll say this much. The Packers are at home. They're my other team that I chose to go to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC. I ain't fixing to backtrack right now. Mm-hmm. Although the Vikings did mess up my opportunity to see a divisional round matchup between the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, where I continued to predict all season that the Seahawks would beat the 49ers twice. I've been robbed of that opportunity. Now, if my predictions are wrong and you have an opportunity NFC Championship, Seahawks 49ers once again, then we'll have the opportunity. But I'll say this much. With the this particular game, Seahawks-Packers, I am rolling with the Packers to win this game at home. There's questions about the run game for the Seattle Seahawks. I do not think that, Pete Carroll's saying, I'm going to give more carries to Marshawn Lynch. Mm-hmm. Perhaps he can go and galvanize this team to get things going. Had this been 4 years ago, okay. Mm-hmm. This time around, I don't expect to see Marshawn Lynch have that 100-yard day. And he only needs one more 100-yard game to tie, I think, a couple of other running backs for the most 100-yard games in postseason history. However the case may be, I got the Packers winning this game. I think Aaron Rodgers is indeed the X factor. I don't think that Trey Flowers and company in the Seattle secondary will be able to guard a Devontae Adams, a Valdez Scantling, a Jimmy Graham, or a Geronimo Allison. I think those guys are going to get going, and more importantly, Aaron Jones, who's been running extremely well all season. I think he's going to have a good game. If Philly, or I should say, if Seattle was only able to score 17 against Philly, and you still saw Russell Wilson get pressure, there's no way that the Smith brothers and Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith ain't fixing to get after this man. I got the Packers winning this game at home, but although it's Packers in Seattle, so it's going to come down to the wire, regardless of the fact that I want to say it's going to be a 10-point spread. I'm going to say Packers 24, Seattle 20.
Okay.
And Seattle will be coming back from a two-digit lead, so it'll probably be about 24-14. Seattle will score, but then their comeback would fall short. I got the Packers winning.
I'm going to roll with the Packers as well. This is one that we can definitely agree on. Look, the Seahawks are decimated beyond explanation. Their defense is terrible. They have no offensive line. They lost all their running backs. Marshawn Lynch, his age is showing. It's just Russell Wilson, as great as he is, there's only so much that this man can do, and he barely, as great as DK Metcalf was, for him to put up the performance that he did and for them to only put up 17 points against that Philadelphia Eagles team, there's no way they're going to come out alive against Green Bay at home, given what Aaron Jones, and you didn't mention him, but Jamal Williams, I think, is also very essential to that running back tandem that they have. You mentioned a Valdez Scantling, a Devontae Adams. I mean, my goodness. I think that, like you said, because of their the playoff history that they have, I don't think it's going to be a blowout the way you would kind of expect it to, because you got to have. I cannot not have faith in Russell Wilson and what he's shown us he can do time in and time out. But the Green Bay Packers are going to come out with the dub. All right. I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a close one, too. I'm going to go 2017. 2017 Green Bay. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a really, really big day, but ultimately Green Bay is going to come out with the dub. But ladies and gentlemen, that concludes episode 19 of the Hold My Nuggets podcast. As always, we want to thank you for tuning in. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, leave a comment, rate us, let us know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube, comment, like, share, subscribe, do all that thing. Be sure to check out our Facebook page at Hold My Nuggets, Instagram Hold My Nuggets, Twitter Hold My Nuggets, I think _ or something like that. I'm not sure.
Something like that. Also Spotify as well. If you're listening as well, leave a rating and also a follow. I believe
also this upcoming weekend, if you make sure you tune in to listen to my guy on the Hot Mic app, you will not get a better commentary from anyone else besides the Chiseled Adonis. But as for right now, I am your man, Marv Glover, and across from me is
the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis.
And as always, this is the Hold My Nuggets podcast, where we talk 50% sports, 50% real shit, 100% of the time. And if you don't like that, you can hold my nuggets.
Suck my dick.
Thank you. Good night.